Welcome to the Know, Like, Trust for Real Estate podcast, where I help you craft branding and marketing strategies that align with your unique strengths. I'm Christine George, and agents who work with me grow their business on average 40% by aligning their marketing strategies with who they are, not what they sell. Today, we're talking all about referrals. Have you ever had a situation where you had a first-time home buyer, let's say, and you worked with them for 6 or 9 months to find that perfect dream home for them to start their life together? You became intimately involved in their families. You knew their financial situation, their dreams. They find that dream house. They move into that dream house. Everybody's happy. And then 7 years later, they go to upsize and they call somebody else. Ouch, right? Like that hurts. That really, really hurts. Why does that happen? Well, the fact of the matter is that 70% of buyers and sellers will call somebody else, even if they've had a positive experience with their agents. And today we're going to address the reasons why that happens and how we can make sure that never happens again. Okay, so here's what I know to be true. And if you're listening to this and you're a real estate agent, I am guessing you know this too. The reason why you're not getting the referrals that you know you deserve is because you're not staying in touch with your past clients and your sphere of influence. And so today I'm going to break this down and we're going to answer 3 questions. The first one is, what are the strategies that actually work in today's modern era of AI and everything else that will actually ensure that you get those referrals? Number 2, what do you say and how do you say it? What makes sense? Because oftentimes we feel really awkward and we feel salesy and we feel inauthentic. So what is it that we should say? What's the message and how should we say it? And then the last thing is, how do we keep ourselves accountable to being consistent? And that, I know from speaking to all of my clients, is one of the biggest challenges that you have, is staying consistent. Okay, so let's start with question number 1, which is, what are the activities or the strategies that really work as it relates to getting referrals? And the first strategy is your online strategy. And I don't want this to scare you, because I think oftentimes when we think online, we think, social media and video and all of those things. And yes, those things are important, but I'm going to break it down so that it's even more simple and there's more of a guarantee that you're actually going to execute. So the first activity as it relates to your online strategy is simply to show up on social media. And you want to do that in a conversation way. So it's not about your social media content strategy. This is really about your social media conversation strategy. So you want to make sure a couple of things. You want to make sure that you're following your clients. You want to make sure that they're also following you. You want to make sure that you are engaging with their content. So in a really authentic way. So when they have a baby or they finish their first marathon, or when their oldest graduates from high school, whatever it might be, you want to make sure that you're engaging in their content in a really thoughtful and relevant way, not just a like or a heart, not just a congratulations, but actually put a full sentence together and maybe even consider asking a question that will encourage additional engagement. It's also a great way when you're engaging with your clients, past clients and your sphere on social media. It's also a great way to sort of be your own private investigator, right? So you're actually becoming aware of different stages of life and the things that are going on in their life. So for example, you might notice that a client that you had as a first-time home buyer now has 3 kids and they need a larger house. So it's a great opportunity to reach out and find out what's happening and how you might be able to support a move if that's in their future. So this type of casual engagement is what nurtures relationships. And when you nurture these relationships, that's when you not only continue to build that trust, but you stay top of mind so that when they know somebody who's ready to buy or sell, or they themselves are ready to make another move, you are the first person on their mind. Okay, so let's talk about the second activity as it relates to your online strategy, and that is to use your platform to express your personality. And the best way that I can sort of describe what this means is by sending you to the Mitchell Gatto team on Instagram. These are clients of mine. They're based in the greater Worcester market here in Massachusetts. They provide value as it relates to home, tips, market stats, things like that, but they do it in a really humorous and self-deprecating way. And I can't even really explain to you what that is without actually taking you to their Instagram account. So I highly encourage you to follow them on Instagram. They're the Mitchell Gatto team. They just do an incredible, brilliant job of showcasing their personality on screen through video on Instagram. And so if you're watching this, instead of listening to this podcast, if you're watching me right now, you can see that I'm using my hands, right? My shoulders are going up. Like whenever I'm talking about something that I feel passionate about, or I'm excited about, or I know a lot about, I tend to get super expressive. And that's just my personality, right? I'm Italian. So that's just another example of let your personality shine, like let it come through, because that's what gives people the idea of what it's like to work with you and to be able to match you up with other buyers and sellers that they think would be a good fit for you. So that is just another example of how to show up using your personality. And then the last thing as it relates to your online strategy that I want you to really, really consider, really what I want you to do is actually implement, is an email newsletter strategy. And here's what I'll say about email. And if you've been following me for a while, you know how passionate I feel about email and how much I believe in it. Email is the most cost-efficient and effective way to reach your sphere of influence. And here's why. Social media is rented ground. You own your email list. It is your database. So these people have already opted in to want to hear from you. And so take advantage of that. They are warm leads. They are people who already know you. And most of them most likely already trust you. And so when you're sending a consistent email newsletter out, inclusive of market data, real estate information, your personality, things that are happening in your life that are relatable to them, then you continue to stay top of mind. And again, you're continuing to build that know, like, trust factor with your sphere of influence. All right. So now that we have talked about your online strategy, the next thing I want to do is talk about your offline strategy, because your offline strategy, especially in today's world, becomes really important. Between the pandemic and us, being on our phones all of the time, head down into technology on screens, people are craving connection and community more than ever. And so your offline strategy becomes really, really important. And when I think of an offline strategy, this is where I believe the fun comes in. This is all about events and gatherings, in my opinion. And don't worry if you're not somebody who doesn't love a big gathering. It doesn't have to be a huge gathering. It doesn't have to be a huge investment of time. What's important here about your offline strategy and creating gatherings is that you do so in a way that's fun for you. You do things that you're passionate about, because when you do those things, your energy around that becomes magnetic. It becomes contagious. So let's say, for example, you love flowers. Why not host a flower arranging gathering for some of your favorite clients? In that same vein, maybe you're a scrapbooker. Personally, it's not my thing, but I know so many people that love scrapbooking. Why not invite people to a scrapbooking party? What if you've got a ton of past clients that are growing families? You could hold a pumpkin carving party or an apple picking meetup at the local apple orchard. You get the gist here, right? You get the idea. Maybe you're someone who loves sports and you want to invite people to watch the game at one of the local sports bars. I mean, whatever it might be, the point is bring people together in community, bring people to a place where they can connect. That will build loyalty, and loyalty creates referrals. It's as simple as that. Okay, so now let's tackle the second question, which is what do I say and how do I say it? And this is a really important one because oftentimes we feel pressured to actually put content out there and we do so in a way that's just really inauthentic, whether we're, just sort of curating information that's out there, reposting without any kind of context, or you're sending out something that's just very generic. You want to make sure you don't do that. You want to go out there and create content that is both helpful and human. From a helpful perspective, make it relatable. Think about who your past clients are and what would make most sense for them, what they are interested in hearing about. Spotlight a local business. Definitely talk about market insights. I love the example of Barbara Corcoran way back when she was a real estate mogul in New York, and she created the market report with data that everybody had access to, but that she put her spin around, and she created the story around what that meant for buyers and sellers in the New York market. So even something as generic, I guess I'll say, as market data can be really impactful when you put your voice and your opinion, your point of view, your perspective. All of that stuff is really important. And I think don't shy away from it because those are the things that attract the people who really want to do business with you and who are the best fit for you. And make sure that you have a call to action. A call to action is critically important on any piece of content that you create because you want to tell people what it is you want them to do. And it doesn't have to be, hey, if you're looking to buy or sell, or if somebody who's looking to buy or sell, give me a call. It can be something as simple as, what's your opinion about, what are you seeing in your market? What's your favorite place to have pizza in such and such market? I mean, anytime you can ask a question that will generate a response and start the engagement process, that's when you're building that momentum of staying top of mind and nurturing those relationships. Okay, so we have finished with the first two questions. Now we're going to talk about the last question. We're going to answer that last question, which is how do I stay consistent and how do I hold myself accountable? And the easiest answer really is to create a system. So I will tell you what I do. The first thing that I do is I create a plan, a communication plan. I actually have an entire spreadsheet and I plan out what communications I'm going to send and who I'm going to send them to and when I'm going to send them. So simple spreadsheet will do. The second thing that I do is I time block. And this is really, really important because we can say, oh, I'm going to time block. I'm going to block an hour every morning to do my outreach. And then something comes up, as it always does, and we don't keep our own appointment. So number one, if it's not on the calendar, it's not going to happen. So make sure you schedule it. But more importantly, hold yourself accountable to working on your outreach when it is in your calendar. Your commitment to yourself and your business is just as important as your commitment to someone else when you set up a meeting. So time blocking and then staying accountable when you've scheduled time in your calendar. And then the last thing is utilize a CRM. Now, one of the ways that I really successfully utilize my CRM, and it's like super simple, there's nothing really, magical about it, is I add my notes anytime I have a meeting with a client or a prospective client, or I've engaged in conversation with them in some way. I will make notes about what happened, what the conversation, what the engagement was about, so that the next time I talk to them, I can actually go back and refer to that. So I sort of think about it like when you're in the doctor's office. Have you ever noticed when you're in the doctor's office these days, the doctor actually sits at the computer and asks you a bunch of questions and puts a bunch of notes in there while you're having your meeting or your appointment, and then you get an actual review or summary of the doctor's notes after the appointment. It's really brilliant. It's very, very similar idea. And I think it really will help you to stay organized and to stay accountable. So what happens now? In my experience, agents who implement these strategies never miss another referral opportunity. And if you still need help building your referral business, I would love to chat. Drop the word referral in the comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, email me at Christine@postandbeamcreative.com. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.